pleasure to be here tonight to moderate this event. I would right now like to have all of our current presidents of our PTAs that are here tonight to stand for recognition. We can clap for them. Tonight we will be allowing each of our schools to ask our candidates some questions that they have provided actually already to them, so they will be prepared with those questions. And each school will come up and ask those questions, and you will have 1 minute to respond to those questions. And the first question that we'll ask, though, you'll actually get 2 minutes to respond, so you get to have a little bit more time there. But before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and read some rules. Okay, I've already said the 2 minutes for the first question and 1 minute for the following questions. But after we have gone through all of our schools' questions, if we have time that allows, we will let community members come forward to the mic and ask a question. And after you've asked your question, we ask that you return to your seat. And we are asking also that only one question per community member. And again, you'll have 1 minute to respond to those questions. We will attempt to have time in the end for follow-up questions if time allows. We ask that we be respectful of each candidate and everyone in attendance while we have this session. We also ask that no questions address specific students or personnel issues in this forum. And we hope that everyone can stay afterwards for a meet and greet in the Commons with our current and our candidates tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our first question. And you guys know how to use your mics. Just push the button when you want to speak. The first question, we'll start right over here, is tell us about yourself and why you are running for school board, and are you a PTA member?
My name is Jason Schaefer. I am not a PTA member. I have a son who graduated from high school. He's 21 years old now. The reason I'm running for school board is I have been active in the community. I served as a board of aldermen for several terms. I'm familiar with how government works and how services are provided. I feel that I've had some interactions with the school over the last few years as an alderman that made me believe that it was important for me to try to see if I could contribute to the board through participating and through serving. My experiences with the school administration have been through the city of Ozark, some with me assisting a current board member with some of her questions. It got me interested again. There was a time when I stepped away from public service, and I felt that calling again to come back and try to serve. My interest is certainly to serve the parents, to make sure that our children have access to a good quality education. I also have concerns about fiscal responsibility. The budget is quite large. A lot of money is being spent. Certainly I expect it to be found to be all good, but certainly I come from a fiscally conservative background. I'd like to see more done with what the budget we have. Also, citizens of Christian County have a high tax burden. I think we all understand that it takes money to educate. I'm not ignorant of that, but also I think that public pays its fair share. And I'd like to see and make sure that every dollar goes as far as possible for everybody. I have also had some experience with administration that left me with questions. Certainly it would appear at times the administration has, at least with the city of Ozark, come across aggressive or heavy-handed, not unfriendly, certainly doing what they could to get the most out of their efforts. I realize I'm out of time.
Thank you so much. Next.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you to the PTA, this current administration, the current school board for coming out, and of course all the parents out there who are doing the hard job at home. My name is James Griffin. I am a husband, father, and follower of Jesus Christ. I have been married for 23 years, 24 this year. And I have 3 amazing boys who all went through Ozark schools. One is currently in the Marine Corps, one is in the Army and Intel, finishing up Intel school right now. And he'll be in Army Missouri National Guard. I've got one in Ozark Middle School. And I am a 21-year retired Navy commander. I was a helicopter pilot, did tours in Afghanistan, the Pentagon, Middle East, as well as I was the commander of the Navy Reserve Center here in Springfield, which is what brought my family to this amazing area. I'm a business owner and volunteer wherever I go, including our church. I'm the president of the board of directors for Light the Way Ministry, which is a local nonprofit here in Ozark. I am also a volunteer soccer coach at the OC, which is actually where I was at yesterday, last night after getting home from a cruise. So, as you can see, my life has been based on service to God, families, not just my own, the community, and our great, amazing country. So I want to continue that legacy of service by utilizing the experience, knowledge, expertise that I've gained in all those places and bring it to our local area as a school board member in Ozark. I recognize this is an amazing place, and I want to keep it that way. Public schools are one of the most influential institutions in our world, in our country, and certainly the world, and upon our children. So we need to recognize that, and the decisions that we make today influence our children here, but also the next generations as we proceed forward, the generations here in Ozark, Springfield, Missouri, and the country. Thanks.
Mine's going to be a little bit shorter than that. My name is Dustin Kirkman. I am a local resident here in Ozark. I'm married to a wonderful woman named Rachel. We have 3 kids that range from 15 to 8 years old. They've all attended Ozark schools. I am actually a former educator myself. My wife is an educator and coach, and always been passionate. My mother's actually a retired teacher. So the school system has always been something that is near and dear to our heart. We are actively and have actively supported the PTA through Ozark East. It's where my 2 youngest go to school. We moved here in about 2014 when I took over my business here in town. One of the reasons we moved here, a large part, was for the school system. It's actually where I took my first coaching job, was in Ozark. I had the opportunity to take a spot out of college and work that, and it led to future endeavors with it. With raising kids and so forth, it was one of those where we went, there's no better place to be, and it's really what drove us to end up back here. Probably the process or the reasoning for me to run for this specific spot is I'm all things Ozark, and I enjoy seeing all things Ozark succeed, and no motives, no anything else other than that's my passion. So actively involved with Rotary, involved with Chamber, involved to help pack school lunches and things like that with the school when it comes to the summer feeding program and this and that. Hours doing it, but that's because we've got a great place to live. We've got a great school system, and I enjoy being part of it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and I thank you all for coming out, but I really want to thank the PTA for hosting this event. I've lived in Ozark for 43 years, and actually we moved to Ozark because of our kids. They were preschoolers then, but we moved because of the school system. My son Derek and my daughter Tania both are graduates of Ozark High School. I currently have 2 grandkids in the school system. Coraline is at middle school and Henry is at North. I have always been passionate about Ozark schools and our community. I retired from Kraft Foods with 38 years of service. Am I not coming out? Sorry about that, Dick. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. Anyway, I retired from Kraft after 38 years. I have a degree in business management. I have actually served on this board for 27 years. And my reason is the same today as it was 28 years ago when I filed. I love kids and I believe in education. I am committed to represent this community as a collective voice with your interests while making decisions that will always put the student first. I want to continue to be a voice and an advocate for all students, our teachers in public education, whether here in Ozark or across the state. Our school district, if you didn't know, when I became on the board, I looked back and our student count was over 3,000 kids. Currently, we are almost 6,000 students, so we have doubled in 27 years. After the graduation rate at that time was 85%. Last May, we graduated 97.8% of our students. It is really great to see this happening because I can remember when the dropout rate, we were so concerned about it. But during that period, we put in our alternative school and we give an option for our students that drop out or don't feel like they can succeed in the high school setting. And we've had numerous graduates from there. I was actually a part of putting that together along with Dan Evans when we started it. Quality in the, all right, thank you.
So sorry. Now we're.
I am a PTA, can I say it real quick? I am a PTA member of North and Middle School.
Okay. All right, now we're gonna bring up our school's PTA officers. I believe it's all presidents that are coming up. There may be some other officers that are coming, but I'll call each school up to ask their question that they have provided. And since we're short of mic, should I just like slide mine over? Yeah. We can do that. Okay, so the first school to call up will be North Elementary.
Hello, my name is Brianna Leach, and I have the privilege of being the PTA president at Ozark North, and thank you for taking your time to be here tonight. As an active part of PTA, we clearly see that time spent within our schools is vital to keeping a pulse on a school or district's needs. How often in the last year have you spent your time volunteering in a school? Were those hours in an Ozark school? And the follow-up would be, if the hours are minimal or zero, how do you feel you're understanding the true school or district needs?
Okay, this one we'll start with you, and we'll just keep skipping.
Thanks, Brianna. So as far as Ozark schools, at Ozark North, whenever Mrs. Etter, my youngest son's teacher, would ask for parents to come and help at events or for the field days, my wife and I, Michelle, would routinely go and support those every time. Besides that, like I said before, I'm an OC, volunteer Ozark soccer coach, which deals with Ozark students 3 to 4 hours a week, 3 months out of the year in spring and 3 months in the fall. And like I said, it's actually, we had practice last night, had a game this week, so if anyone wants to come out. Besides that, I'm also a volunteer at our church. We have a volunteer life group leader, which has a number of Ozark students in our group. So that's another 3 to 5 hours a week. Besides that, I'm also the president of Lifebuoy Ministry, of the board for Lifebuoy Ministries, which also supports local events here. We had a huge festival here last summer, which supports Ozark families and youth and students.
Thank you for the question. I was trying to think back in hours, and honestly, I have no idea how many. I haven't, counted. It wasn't really the point for me to count. But the answer would be numerous, and so and kind of in multiple facets. My involvement with the school largely has to do with athletics. In some ways, I was a former coach, and that's one way that I can help support the school system. So I spent a lot of time in the gym, a lot of time on the baseball fields, and a lot of time on football fields. But beyond that, I do spend time in supporting areas like the Care to Learn project, where we help summer feeding. Right? We pack a lot of lunches, we pack a lot of food, and all that work's done behind the scenes. We have another program through Rotary that's called the Don't Meth With Us program. We might be here for a little while or a few hours in each, and we do it here in all the elementaries for the 5th grade. And then we do it as well in Sparta and in Chadwick. And it's a great program. There's a lot of time that goes into that beyond just the hours of the school. Thank you.
As far as volunteering, I'm kind of OCD, I keep track of things. what hours I've done and how many miles I drive or whatever. It's just something I wanna know. But I looked at that today and I've probably over 100 hours spent in the schools. I love to help with class parties and skills day. That's one of my favorite things, help with skills day. But I also, if you know me, I enjoy reading to the kiddos. So I've been a mystery reader for years. I usually take a whole day or two before Christmas, and I ask to come to the Tiger Paw on all 4 elementary schools. I spend a whole day going from one building to the other, reading to kindergarten or first graders. I've been invited by 2nd and 3rd grade classes also, but I'm open for anything if you want to ask me. As an elected school board volunteer, if you take that into consideration, I do walkthroughs with our superintendent, Lori. I attend plays, concerts. I've attended several of the FFA fundraisers, and I love seeing those kids in action. The showcases here at the OIC with the students here at this building, art exhibits and everything, but I try to get out and see as much as I can, basketball games, softball.
The short answer would be not very much. Since my son graduated high school, I have not been on campus as much. When he was in school, certainly I or my wife at the time would volunteer and we would participate. I do have a previous history doing, I'm an attorney by trade, so when I was a young attorney, I would do IDEA work that would represent students out in pro bono, Ozark, Springfield, and other Southwest Missouri towns to make sure that they would receive the appropriate education under the federal law. Certainly, I do believe it is important to volunteer in all aspects of life and to be familiar with the school system. What I would bring to the board would be more of an experience from the legal side for the enforcement of IDA, and also the understanding that I would have to spend more time, obviously, on the campuses and with the schools as I would.
Okay, our next school that we'll bring up is Ozark Middle School.
Hello, my name is Samantha Byrne. I am, like Cindy said, here from Ozark Middle School. Thank you all for being here. My question is, today, what are some of the biggest challenges facing schools and how will you address them? We'll start with you.
So, thank you, Samantha, for the question. That is a big, broad question, so I'm gonna try to kind of be quick on this in a minute. But, you know, obviously, the tax crunch is everybody feels it in their pocketbook, right? And so the challenge for the school is, it's a big cost. We have to be fiscally responsible with our money. The other thing that I'm gonna say is, you know, we've got other things that we've gotta make sure that our kids and our teachers are safe, right? We remain competitive when it comes to teacher salaries and pay, along while making sure things that like bridging technology with knowledge, which I think are 2 different things. So when you kind of look at the facets of some of the challenges, there's a bunch, right? And we gotta kind of have to attack it in pieces as we go along.
All right.
2 things that I feel that are challenging, there's several things, but 2 that I want to mention is teacher retention, competitive salaries, as Dustin said, but we were able to raise our base salary to $41,000 last year, which is, I feel like is awesome. We also were able to raise across all staff. I think we need to look at that every year if it's financially possible, especially if it's a cost of living raise, because we know costs keep going up. The other thing is the climate and culture for our teachers. We need to create a culture in our buildings where our teachers are respected, that they feel safe, and they feel appreciated. We need to praise their accomplishments, respect their input, their time, and their successes. We need to ask them to the table to make decisions. The other thing is safety. I think we do some things great here in Ozark as long as for safety, because we have SROs across the district. We've built our last storm shelters for every building. We have safe entrances, training with our students and our staff regarding fires, tornadoes, and even active shooter drills, which, you know. Thank you.
Obviously, I believe finances and fiscal responsibility should be a #1 issue. I believe that we need to be able as a board to have a better understanding as to the expenditures that are incurred by the district and the monies that are coming in. I would do, or suggest that there would be a review of the existing expenditures of the school district, try to determine if there's any clear alternatives that are cheaper. Sometimes cheaper alternatives can be better, sometimes it can be the same, sometimes it can be a little bit worse. But there has to be an evaluation of how business is done, whether it can be continued to be done that way. Obviously, there has to also be a safe environment for our schools. We hear too often stories in other districts about teachers or students being harmed. Certainly, I want to make sure that our children, our teachers, and our parents are safe on campus and take steps to review the current system that we have in place, which seems to be quite safe, and make sure that we continue that type of environment.
When you look at Ozark, when we first came to Ozark, back when I was the commander of the Navy Reserve Center, I came here because, well, one of the top reasons was the schools were great. When I moved back here after retiring from the Navy, I didn't look at any other districts. I looked only at Ozark, and that was the only place we wanted to buy a house and live to because, well, my sons have friends here and they wanted to be in the Ozark schools. So, starting with that baseline, I look at the top 3 issues that I consider, and my main things are family values. I want to make sure that I think Ozark, this area is great because the family values already established here, and I want to seek to maintain those values across the board. Look at Ozark first. When I say Ozark first, it's policies that seek to promote this area first, as opposed to federal or state or other external organizations that want to impose their values on us. So we want to just look at those first, and then finally is financial responsibility and accountability, aligning the finances, the budget to all 3 of those areas as well, and maintaining that your tax dollars are well accounted for.
Thank you so much. Our next school that we will ask to come forward is South Elementary.
Hi guys, my name is Jessica, I'm the president at Ozark South Elementary. Our question tonight is, can you please describe what you feel the role of the school board is in the local community, and who do you feel they are ultimately accountable to?
Let's start with me.
Yes.
I believe it's vital for a board member to be involved in their community. You need to build relationships with the community, whether it's city officials, business owners, your emergency responders, senior citizens, and especially our parents. I have tried to do that over the last several years, getting to know, I can call them by first name, most of them. As a board elected by the people to represent as a leader and decision maker for our schools and for our students, we need to earn that trust to do what's best for our students. We need to build the confidence of the people by the decisions we make for Ozark schools to remain one of the best districts in the area. And I vow to do that.
The role and purpose of the school board is to provide oversight for the school administration, which then leads to the services to our children. As far as the community, our interaction of the board would be to convey to the community that we are performing our jobs. One of the main reasons, the way to do that is have open and transparent meetings that discuss the substance, the meat, the potatoes, of how it takes to run a board and how it takes to run a district. The more information the public has, the better they feel about the performance and the job that is being done. Questions and suspicions are raised when things are not answered in the public life. And that's why I would say one of the most important things the board could do is make sure that the information about the finances and about the ongoings and what's going on in the district is made public through meetings, through town halls, and through discussions with parents and city representatives and county representatives.
The school board is the elected body that is directly accountable to you, the public. That's the go-between between the public and the school administration. So as far as what the school board is supposed to do, obviously the oversight of the superintendent and the the overall governance and running of the public schools. I take a look at three separate areas. What I see is we establish policy, we create and craft policy that goes back to those core fundamentals that I mentioned, that is designed to support this area. We then craft strategic plans and vision for the current year as well as the out years. They go back to that policy, and then we craft a budget, maintain a budget that is fiscally responsible in order to execute that strategic plan and those policies. So it kind of goes along all three of those lines, and back to those core fundamentals of family values, financial responsibility, and of course.
Thank you.
So, I fundamentally believe that the school board's elected to represent the students, parents, staff, and the community. And you do so by making informed decisions. You know, you make informed decisions about policy. You help with the budget, obviously, that's a hot topic, right? And you help in hiring and evaluating the superintendent. As a board, you only have one employee, and it's your superintendent, right? You help evaluate and hire that person and make sure that they're doing their job in running the school. Ultimately, I feel like you're accountable to the public, but that's a pretty general term. I think you're accountable to the parents, you're accountable to, I'm gonna say, just general taxpayers, but you're also accountable to the students, right? We trust the people that are on this board to take care of our kiddos, and that's gotta be kind of a primary focus of your board. Thank you.
All right, the next question will come from Tiger Paul. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read that question. They did submit a question, but we weren't sure if they were here tonight, so. The question they brought forward is, if necessary, where would you cut the school budget? And what would you consider off limits, and why? We'll start with you.
Cutting a budget, you have to do a process where you identify where the expenditures go, out of what departments, whether it's payroll or operations, meaning that you would identify the department, identify payroll, operations, and money's being spent. As far as how you would go about through determining where a cut would occur, after you would determine what's going out from what areas, you would look to see what we're in compliance with as far as state and federal regulations for curriculum and other responsibilities. I mean, certainly we do answer to some degree to other governmental entities. And if we are in compliance with those and we have room to spare, then yeah, there would be areas that you could cut. As far as what's off limits, certainly I don't think you could enter into a budget process and not say something's off limits. I guess what I'm trying to say is that determination would be made through the examination of the existing expenditures, identifying where we have extra money to move around or cut. I'm not one to cut anything. What I'm really looking for is identifying shortfalls and compensating those shortfalls as we would with our household budget, with areas where we have extra money.
Thank you.
First off, it's important to understand the current budget for this fiscal year is approximately $101 million. Now, that said, when you look at budget cuts, you need to know, is it a cut in this fiscal year or following the out years? Before even doing any of that, what is the most important thing in the district? How do you run? What is the most important asset for your organization to run? And that's teachers. Without teachers, we can't teach. This is what we do in our school district. So if we have to make cuts in the current fiscal year, well, we're gonna fence teacher pay, obviously, because we can't produce students without teachers. Then what do we look at as far as making cuts? I would look at pausing or delaying capital projects, other maintenance projects, although those are certainly important in the strategic plan and vision. We have to look at people first. So more important than that is looking at a budget that promotes fiscal responsibility, that promotes potential surpluses where we can absorb those cuts in the future, whether it's a cut from the federal, state, or even the local level. So what's happened? Yes. Should they? Ideally we plan for that, and it shouldn't happen, but.
That's a great question. And as it's kind of mentioned, it's a massive budget, right? So to kind of sit here without being privy to the entire budget right now, I'd be kind of throwing darts in the dark a little bit. But what I would tell you is that, one of the few things that would be off limits to me would be the kids' safety, both kids' safety and the teachers' safety. And then I think another one we really have to look at is Missouri ranks 50th right now in new teacher pay. Okay, we're 50th. There's nowhere really to go. We're at the bottom. We rank 47th in overall pay. I think it's probably safe to say we don't need to make any cuts in that area. If you start cutting teachers, you're not going to attract quality teachers, and you're not going to retain quality teachers. And who ultimately pays the price for that? Again, it's your kids. So without knowing the ins and outs of the current budget, I'd have to say if I was I would start with inefficiencies. When you have any operations that's this size or this magnitude, you always are going to have some inefficiencies. I start there, and then I kind of work my way down.
The question asked, where would I cut the school budget? As a board member, as one board member, would not want to decide that. I think what we should do is develop a committee of board members, teachers, administrators, other staff, maybe some community members, and sit down and talk about it. Not go through the whole budget line by line, but have some suggestions, brainstorm what some things we could cut, and look at those ideals and those cuts. Would that budget line be of value in the education of our students and their academic success? If that's true, then absolutely do not cut. But I think that's something that you should come together as a committee to look through. I don't feel like that's a decision of me or even the board. I think it would come to the board eventually after this committee went through that. I hope that we don't have to do that. The other thing, the off limits would be absolutely do not cut teachers' salaries. That was one of our goals, is to retain our teachers, and we increased that salary. We might have to freeze salaries if it was a year where the budget and the funds weren't coming in, but I do not believe that's something we should ever cut.
Okay, now I'm gonna bring up my favorite elementary school, Ozark East.
You can tell where my kids live, right? Hello everyone, my name is Brittany Matthews. I am the PTA Vice President at East. And our question is, how are our schools planning to ensure that students graduate with the knowledge and skills they need to be college and career ready?
So the first thing is we need to make sure we have academic excellence across the board. So it starts from early childhood education through elementary, middle school, junior high, and high school. So assuming that we're having academic excellence as a standard through all those, at the high school level, we want to have programs that ensure that students have avenues where they're not just focused on college, but other opportunities that are outside college, because we all know that not every child, not every student is going to go to college. It's not the right fit. Some can go straight to business, some can go straight to a trade school. I think currently Ozark has some of those great opportunities. So we have the IB program, although I believe it's being phased out. We have the AP program. We have dual enrollment, as well as some trade school options. So, when you look at all those things, whatever those avenues are, we need to look at opportunities where students can take advantage of their values, of whether they want to continue in trade, school, or even the military, as some of my kids have done.
I'm going to echo a little bit of what James said here. I think it does start in your elementary. They're so young and they're impressionable at that age, and getting them off to the right start is vital. And I'm going to say, I think that Ozark has had great community support for a very long time. The OIC is a big step in bridging academia and real world experience. As somebody who is a business owner, I do lots of interviews, and I can tell you one of the biggest challenges that I see for some of the kids coming out is the lack of communication skills, right? So how do we bridge the use of technology and also how to have a conversation with someone? And it's a real hurdle. So there's things that I think we can do, and it's an always evolving world, and it's always evolving education. I think that's where you can continue to push, is go, hey, how do we get the book smarts and also some real world application?
Yes. I think we're doing a great job right now, but I do think that in that, with our preschool, Tiger Paw School, all the way through 12th grade, that our curriculum is aligned for those students to succeed as they move up to the 12th grade. As some of them have said about our different programs, especially the OIC here with all the different pathways, the 6 pathways, there's opportunities to gain your credits or whatever to move on into college, but also you may be able to get a certificate and move right into the workplace. Just like our career center where we do our automotive classes there. Some of those students graduate with that, I can't remember the initials, SEC, is that correct? Where it's automotive maintenance. But I think that's key, and I know when we did our graduation last year, 76% of them had diploma and the and means what else do they have besides just that high school diploma? I think we need to continue doing assessments throughout the school year. Don't wait till the math tests, because they're gone by then. We need to do the assessments so that student sets a goal and they know where they're at, so they can continue to improve. Parent engagement, I believe, is key in this. The parents need to be involved with the school's staff to work with that student to set a pathway.
When it comes to career and life choices, the way I look at it is, it's like pastries or desserts, you know. Some people are pies, some people are cakes, some people are cupcakes, but a lot of them still have the same ingredients, and a lot of them still have to take time in the oven. A lot of them still, you know, need to have that final touch. I guess what I'm trying to say is we have to have a school district that is diverse, that can provide the basic education, provide an environment where a student can be confident, can provide the opportunities to work outside and think outside the box, to come out of this school with the necessary skills to be the dessert they want to be. So I guess what I'm wanting to do is make sure that as a board member, that we give these kids everything they need so they can get to the point in life where they want to be. And that would be a good curriculum, that would be the basic life skills that people need, that would be the social interaction that we seem to lose sometimes, that faith in family, that faith in community, the hard work, you know, the determination. And that is a lot to ask for parents and teachers, but it's something I think we need to do. Thank you.
Okay, and then our last school with a question tonight is West Elementary.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Mann, and I am the Vice President all alongside Shannon Merriman at Ozark West. And a lot of you have touched on this question already, but as a former educator, it's definitely near and dear to my heart. We have all heard about nationwide teacher shortages and teacher retention. How will you help address this within our district?
So, it's a great question, thank you, Danielle, because I think it's one that is on everybody's mind. And I want to start with, I think you got to identify the reasons why we're losing teachers, right? Why are we losing tenured teachers, your quality teachers, and why are there less people going into teaching right now? And it's probably a multitude of answers that go into this, but I think it boils down to a couple, I'm going to say primary answers, right? One of those being they need teacher support. And support means a lot of different things. We've got to, we mentioned kind of the salary, we've got to get better at what we're doing, right? And everything, the budget's tight, but we've got to be better at teacher salary. The other thing is discipline, right? And I think that's a major one that pushes teachers out right now. Policy to support teachers to handle the discipline issues that are going on needs to happen. Thank you.
Of course, I stated this before about the competitive salaries, which I think we're doing well at, and the culture and climate. Show that respect, show that appreciation, show the praise. One thing that we are doing now is if a teacher does training or goes back to pick up a class or whatever, if they apply for it, they can be reimbursed for that. Another thing we do, and I don't know if all of you know about it, is our master's program. Back in, probably been 10 or 12 years ago, I think I was the one that asked it at a board meeting. We were looking at our teacher steps, and I said, how many of our teachers have masters? I think it was about 27, 28% had their masters, and a lot of the reason was they didn't have the time or the money. So we put into place a master's program where our higher up administrators teach those classes. It's run through Evangel College. It may take, there's 10 to 12 students in a cohort, it may take a couple of years to accomplish that. But in that time frame, we are now at 75% of our teachers have their master's degree. So I think if we can do things like that to help the teacher better themselves, but make them feel rewarded, that they are respected, and that they are appreciated, because they are the prime reason for education that our students are successful, is those teachers.
Seems I never turn my mic off. Information is power, so if you want to bring in and you want to hire people, we need to know what they're looking for, what they want, we provide that to them. Obviously, people need money and they want salaries, and that's the easy answer, but we still need to have a better understanding what the new graduate or the experienced teacher who's looking to relocate is looking for, and then we try to provide that. And certainly the same thing is for retention, and when it comes to losing good teachers, we need to know why we lose good teachers. My experience in the legal field, when someone leaves a job, they don't necessarily tell their boss the truth why they're leaving their job. They tell the boss what they think the boss wants to hear, or they tell the boss only enough information to give the answer. So what I would suggest on retention, if we're losing good teachers, we want to use a third-party outside source to do an exit interview or do some type of follow-up, even if it's after they've left for a few months, to try to get the truth as to why they left, and then we try to correct those problems. I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything wrong. I'm just saying if you want the truth, typically you have to go about it a different way than what is traditional. Thinking outside the box, try to get the information necessary to correct the problem.
It's important to understand that teachers are our most valuable assets in the school system. So, especially as our employees, we cannot teach, we can't have our students being taught without teachers. They're the ones who are doing the hard job day in, day out. So, of course, the first part is competitive pay. That's competitive pay at the entry level, middle tier level, and senior level, as you get farther along in experience. So, pay is the one thing, but what I've learned in the military as a commander is that people don't necessarily stay just because of pay. It can be great pay in the military, but they still can leave. So why do they leave? It's because people are not valued, people are not respected or recognized. And I think the same thing is also with teachers. My parents were both educators, and they were both career educators. So why did they stay? It's different reasons, but when you value teachers' inputs, value their thoughts, recognize them, not just give them an opportunity to get the input, but then value what they actually said. So you want to take their inputs and actually do something with it, not just treat it as whatever. So and value and input without fear of reprisal. So I'd say all those pieces.
Okay, thank you all so much. Those were all of the questions from our schools. So we'll now open the floor to questions from the general public. And just a reminder, when you come up to ask your question, you may ask the question and then go ahead and be seated. So if anyone would like to come up.
Hello, good evening. My name is Whitley Karanja. I am the NSTA CTA president elected by the staff and the teachers here in the district to represent all of our staff. A lot of our questions tonight have been centered around teachers. So my question tonight is, half of our workforce are non-certified staff. So how do you as a board member choose to support those types of positions within our district and make sure that their voices are also heard?
Okay, start with you.
That's a great question, because I think we need to respect and appreciate the jobs that they do. I think we need to stay competitive in their salaries also if we can. Also giving them benefits. I know a few years ago we added in benefits to our bus drivers, which we hadn't before, and our cooking staff. But I do believe that's something we need to look at as a district, is how can we show appreciation to them. I believe that is key for a successful school, because all of those entities see our students, whether it's a bus driver, the first one to say hello to them in the morning, or a cook at the lunchtime or breakfast time, custodian in the hallway, and they're helping to keep our schools clean. All of the coaches, music teachers, all of them are valuable to our students. And so I think we need to always appreciate and do what we can to make their job better for them.
To keep a happy workforce, typically, again, you have to address their needs, their concerns, providing fair pay, making sure they have benefits, being flexible with schedules, being understanding with family Certainly having well-written policies that are understood and conveyed in a proper manner to make sure that their job duties are identified. So when somebody's asked to do something above and beyond what they're supposed to do, that they're compensated for those additional services as well. Not to ask managers or leads to carry too much or to do too much. Make sure that we share the burden amongst all the staff and all the employees. If we have shortages in one area and too many people in another, as I spoke before about the budget, that you adjust that accordingly. So one department's not working overtime and working too hard, and the other department's not having it too easy and getting on. Certainly, I want fairness amongst all our employees. I don't want any department to be favored over one or the other. I want to make sure that they feel comfortable that they can approach management with concerns, and if management's not responsive, to approach others to go up the ladder to make sure that all employees for the school district are treated fairly and paid fairly.
Creating a culture of excellence, it starts, it's a broad piece. So, of course, it's similar to teachers. You need competitive pay at whatever level those are at, whether it's a tech support or bus driver, whatever position that is, you obviously need competitive pay, but that's not what keeps people, like I said, just with teachers. You need a culture that appreciates them, and it's hard to mandate that from here. You can't really mandate, you're gonna be a nice person. You have to create that culture, and it takes a while. This is a culture of leadership, which we saw in the military. It takes time. So you want lower level managers, which in this case can be principals, vice principals, assistants, and so on down the road, who are taught how to treat people, good management, good leadership, and that takes time. So you can't overnight have happy people. You all will be happy. You will love your jobs. Well, it takes time to train those people, to train those ethics, those pieces.
The short answer would obviously be, make sure that we've got competitive pay and competitive benefits. But I think it falls back, and I'll echo James just a little bit, to culture. And so you can have outstanding academics in a school, or any workplace for that matter, and not have a very good culture. So it's a culture of everybody feels valued in a certain way, and everybody belongs to that culture and feels like they bring something to that dynamic, which is a school system that has a very wide dynamic, right? And so what I find, when people are changing jobs, they're maybe looking for a better paying job. They might be looking for something where they can advance as far as their knowledge goes. But they're also sometimes looking for a better leader, right? And they're also looking for, they want to be a part of something. And if you've got great culture, it's amazing to see how many people want to be a part of it.
All right, do we have any other questions from the floor?
Hi, my name is Amy Acker. I'm a 1999 Ozark graduate, a parent of many children, whether in foster care, adoption, or biologically. A couple of weeks ago, our own state representative filed a bill that would force teachers to refrain from assisting students in the subject of social transitioning. What are your thoughts on this bill and how it forces teachers to treat those students?
I'm going to ask, could you repeat it one more time on the bill?
Yeah.
I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn.
No problem. A couple of weeks ago, our state representative filed a bill that would force teachers to refrain from assisting students in the subject of social transitioning. What are your thoughts on this bill and how it forces teachers to treat the students at that time? Does that make sense? Okay.
And trying to keep track of whose turn it is.
I'll go.
I think it's you. Yes.
I support Jamie Bragg. He is a good representative. As you may recall, the representative before, Mr. Bragg, is currently in federal prison. I guess what I'm trying to say is Jamie certainly is doing a tough job. He's tackling a difficult issue. He's doing it in the manner that he thinks is best. on this complicated issue, other than I trust Representative Bragg. I believe that these type of decisions are for the parent, the family. It's between individuals that sometimes can't include the teacher or administrator. I know teachers want to help. I know teachers want to do what's best for the children. I know sometimes teachers think that they know better than the parent, and maybe they do, but we still have to draw a line sometimes. And on these type of issues, you know, I believe the parent is in a better position to make those decisions for the minor child than the well-intended teacher.
As far as the bill, I probably need to better understand some of this, but generally speaking, I think when you're talking about some of these emotional pieces, obviously teachers are with students 35 to 48 hours a week, all year round, and so, in some cases they may have a better even relationship than their parents. But that doesn't mean that they take the place of the parent. I believe that some of these issues should obviously be handled outside the school system, and with the parent, church, or whatever. But you know, when the teacher takes on the role as the parent, that can cause some difficulties. I would encourage teachers to focus on the academic piece and refrain from some of these social issues.
The challenge for teachers a lot of times is you care about your kiddos in every aspect, right? Like it's challenging to be a teacher, and so you have this special place in your heart for the well-being of those kids. And the challenge there is how do you support a kid, and where is the line in which, hey, this is a major thing, and that needs to probably be a parent decision, right? We're not talking about a child who wants to grow up and be Superman, or we want to grow up and be this or that. We're talking about a life-changing type of event that really needs to be decided by the parent and not by the educator. The educator's job is to be there to educate. And when you get into something of this magnitude, for lack of a better way to put it, I think that's a parent thing and not a teacher thing.
When I heard Representative Gregg announce this on K13, I think it was, it kind of surprised me because he said the teacher would have to file to be a sex offender. I am not one to judge students and what they choose to do in their lives. That is not for me to judge as a Christian, that's God's choice. I am one that believes that a child needs to feel safe in the school district, and if a teacher or a counselor wants to help that student and be there for them, I think they should. I do not think that they should cross the line as a teacher to encourage anything. I believe that goes back to the parenting and that student. But I do not believe that this is, I think you're stepping out of the local control of the school board. We want more and more to be able to run our schools on local control. When the government tries to step in at the state level or the federal level, trying to bring all these issues, it's like trying to take away from the local control. But I think you would upset a lot of teachers in that concern, and we are wanting to retain our good teachers.
Thank you so much. We have some more time if anybody else has a question.
Hi, my name's Tony Petrosino. You're talking about parent control or local control. We know 4 years ago was a pandemic. We maybe see it again this year. We're talking about keeping the parents' control or the control at the parent level. Are you gonna make sure that we do not bring masks back in school without, and only leave it at the parent level and not the school level?
When COVID-19 hit, we were in DC, and my kids were, I think it was March 13th, my son's birthday. We went out to eat. Next day, they didn't go back to school for a year and a half. So they were at home. It was like the worst time of their life. Of course, they're playing video games. They're supposed to be online, Zoom and stuff like that. So they didn't go back in DC. I'm not sure how it was here for about a year and a half. My youngest son didn't even go back because we homeschooled him because it was ridiculous. So and he cried because he couldn't play with his friends because of that mask ordinance. So did it help anyone? I don't want to get into the medical pieces on it, but I think the biggest piece is the masks. It created a sense of fear and isolation from kids, more so than preventing them and helping them in medical cases. So in my case, and my experiences, it would hurt my kids for them to be masked, them to have to wear a mask or stay home for that matter. So I would be against it.
So another hot topic I hope we don't have to actually handle, but you know, the difficulty about science is a lot of times you know after the fact, right? So you kind of have to live it to figure out what's going on. To be clear, I'm not a mask person, right? I've been around kids. I was kind of assigned, I was a science teacher for high school, and then my next job was in the elementary, which was, I wasn't sure that I would like and absolutely loved. I couldn't explain it to you. But the one thing I know about kids is you can put a mask on whether or not the mask works or doesn't. They are going to sit there and touch the mask, and then they touch everything else around them. So in some ways, you've just made it worse, right? We've created a petri dish out of the entire classroom. You know, the problem with the mask situation, Tony, is it's a no-win situation, right? Everybody has an opinion on it, and no matter what you do, you're losing, right? And am I a fan of it happens a lot with school board, right? So am I a fan of the mask? Absolutely not. Is it a decision that the administration made at the time because they thought it was best for your school? I believe so. Do I want them? No, right?
I haven't heard that is an issue that could happen again with masking, but I think we've learned a lot since 2020. I do believe at the time when that decision was made, we didn't know what this illness would do, COVID. People were dying right and left. We didn't know. All our concern was to keep our students safe. And I think that's the way we would look at it if we go into it again. But I don't think it's a topic that we're gonna have to worry about, because I think things have changed since then. We've learned a lot, and I understand what parents want with their children. I understand that, and I respect that.
No mask. I was an alderman when the city tried to institute a mask ordinance, and I opposed it then. I do find it odd that now people who are forcing mask on us can look back and say, we didn't know. Well, half of us knew, and half of us stood up and said no, and to not we were right. For me, it was an issue of liberty. It wasn't about safety. You just can't tell an entire city that they have to wear something that may or may not work. It's our decision what we do. It's our decision what we want our kids to do. I can understand if you're fearful and you want to stay home, but I can't understand if you're fearful and you want to make other people do what you do. So no to mask.
All right, and it is 7 o'clock. So that was when we said we would end this event tonight. Everybody know? I can't see their faces, so I don't know what's happening behind them. But on behalf of the Ozark PTA District PTA group, we just want to thank you all for coming tonight and sharing with us and listening to our questions and being open and honest with us. It's just great to have 4 individuals that are willing to do this. So best of luck to you. Dr. Carson, do you want to give your announcement? He has a really great announcement.
Yes, on next Tuesday, in this room from 5:30 to 7, we will be having a curriculum conversation, and it is about social media and how social media impacts families and then how that impacts schools. So all of you are welcome to come, and it will be, I'm sure, a riveting evening. There will be watching a there's a 53-minute documentary that will be what we use as our feeder to really have a conversation. So all of you are welcome.
Guys, that was the last one. I would highly encourage you to come. It was so well done. It bridges a gap between schools and parents so well. Highly encourage it. Would you say the time again?
It's next Tuesday here in this room from 5:30 to 7.
Okay, and if you have people that were supposed to come or wanted to attend this event tonight but couldn't make it, we did record the, everything tonight, and it will be on the YouTube channel? Okay, the YouTube. Not that old, right? Okay, but thank you again for coming, and we will have the meet and greet time now, so, go Ozark.
Thank you.
Well done, good job, Lisa.